Yo, Junkies, welcome back. It is Kenshiro. We're back with Culture Junkies Live, the 111th episode. Today, we're going to be talking about Mecha in America, honestly, with Pacific Rim 2 dropping this week. Felt like it was a good time to start talking about some Mecha and why it isn't necessarily like the most popular thing in the United States. Yes, it's popular in anime, but not necessarily with the general audience. But first and foremost, let me get who's going to be on the show with me today. My guest, GQ and Fallen Marvel. How you doing today, fellas?
Doing real well. Hope everybody else is doing just the same out there. So that's all I can really say on my end.
I'm doing fine. I'm mixing two of the most powerful entities ever.
Doctor Doom and the Infinity Gauntlet. I got you. Hey, you know what? He actually had that in the recent Marvel crossover. So when he became God. So yeah,
exactly.
that's not bad. You're not necessarily mixing metaphors. You're kind of like right on target there, which is not bad at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah. So honestly, he's bragging, showing off over there. But I got mine. Actually, it's still boxed up. It's sitting on my table over there. I haven't exactly decided what I'm going to do with it, but I know for damn sure when Infinity War drops in like T-minus 4 weeks now, it will definitely be there with me. So anyway, guys, we hope you all are having a fantastic week. But let's go ahead and get into it. First things first. We're gonna talk about the geek is talking about your gauntlet. They think that is pretty awesome. Hugh, welcome to the show, sir. If you want to jump in, I'll add you in, and we can get you chatting as well. So in any case, let's get to the fix. Actually, there's some pretty cool stuff to talk about in the fix. So let's go ahead and get to it. No LGZ this week, honestly. She wasn't able to join us, but have no fear. Your gracious host, Kenshiro, is here. So anyway, guys, first things first, Black Panther is still running things in the theater, man. For the 5th week, it was at the top of the box office, which left Lady Lara Croft pulling up the rear. Tomb Raider managed to pull in $23.5 million this past weekend, which was well within kind of some of the industry expectations. However, the film only managed to only pull in half of what the original Tomb Raider starring Angelina Jolie did back in 2001. Black Panther, meanwhile, has topped $600 million domestically finally, after pulling in $27 million this past weekend, and is now only $18 million behind the Avengers as the domestically highest grossing superhero movie in U.S. history. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable, the tear that it's been on. So Justice League, on the other hand, well, it officially finished as the worst grossing DCEU film ever. The debate kind of still rages on as to why exactly the film failed to resonate with audiences. I mean, most people concede that while it wasn't the most terrible DCEU movie, and actually I was very excited by it, it was a victim of previous failures, incessant rumors, a controversial director switch, and executive meddling of varying degrees. DC will be added again later this year with Aquaman, however, and then the only other film currently in production is Shazam in 2019. And the Zachary Levi starring vehicle revealed its official logo and website just yesterday. Obviously, there isn't really much more than that, and the varying production shots that you see from the set while they're filming. So the jury's still out, and DC still has time to kind of get their stuff together. Next, what dropped yesterday was Dragon Ball Super. Actually, has been really hype. Goku finally fought Jiren last Saturday, and by all accounts, it was actually one of the dopest fights in Dragon Ball history. But this week, yesterday, actually, there was a new trailer for the Dragon Ball Super movie that's going to be coming out right after the season is over. Actually, I shouldn't say right after. It's going to be later this year. But in that film, Goku's going to be facing Super Saiyan God, and there's a lot of rumors about where it came from. This isn't like Broly or anything like that. But this character that you see on the screen right now is what is supposedly Akira Toriyama's design for what the Super Saiyan God is going to look like. He's got a tail. He kind of looks like a mix between Vegeta and Gohan a little bit. But he looks kind of imposing. Looks pretty dope. Can't wait to actually see some more on that. We see your comments. We can't wait to get to them. We'll definitely be discussing them. But let's get to the rundown real fast. What's coming out this week? We got the Mighty Thor 705, which actually finishes up Jane Foster's run as the Thunder God. We got Ni no Kuni 2, which is coming out on PlayStation and Xbox. Final Fantasy 15 Windows Edition is finally out, and that's, of course, on Windows. Attack on Titan 2 is coming out as well for PlayStation and for Xbox. I think it's also on PC. I'm not sure about that. But in the movies this week, obviously we talked about Pacific Rim Uprising, but Midnight Sun, starring Bella Thorne and Patrick Schwarzenegger. Yes, that Schwarzenegger. And Sherlock Gnomes is out this week, and that's the fix. Brought to you by Culture Junkies. So, dudes, what did we kind of think of that fight between Goku and Jiren? Everybody saw it, right? I'm assuming that. I know I saw it. GQ, I don't know if you saw it yet.
Nope, didn't
Kyle,
see it.
I know you saw it. You didn't see
yes,
it? Okay.
I did watch it. Yes.
Yeah, all right. So, well, I don't want to spoil it because that's actually one of the
spoil it. I don't care.
No. I'm not saying
audience,
spoil it.
man.
I'm going to spoil it that way. The fight actually isn't over yet. Goku, of course, didn't completely just mollywop Jiren after finally mastering Ultra Instinct. But some really dope stuff did come out of it. We'll actually get into that a little bit later. So maybe it is, I don't know, maybe you want to, while the show's going on, you want to kind of see some of the highlight points of the fight. You can go to YouTube. It's up there. I mean, like literally when it comes out, it's up on YouTube and various other sites within minutes. So you can see it.
Well, coming off of the fix, though, Johnny Patton in the chat was saying that DC would find success if they simply did their own thing in the movies.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I don't know. I don't know.
Come on now.
Hold on now.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
They did their own thing. At least they did their own thing according to Snyder, and it didn't work because they went too dark and they forgot about what these characters stand for and what they represent. But I mean, I even commented back to him. It's like they need to have let Jeff Johns do what he does, which is write outstanding storylines and oversee great character arcs and changes and essentially just like how Feige laid out this long 10-year plan that's about to come to fruition. Johns could have done the same thing. I mean, it's like Johns is responsible for some of the greatest DC stories of the modern era. So it's like if you got somebody that has that mind and that understanding of the characters, why would you take his power away, or why would you put him in a position but not listen to him? So that's on them.
Right. And I totally agree with that. And it was funny because I had an exchange with somebody, I don't know how long ago it was, but like someone was making the debate that Jeff Johns couldn't be the quote unquote Kevin Feige because he wasn't quote unquote a Hollywood guy. But it's like at the same time, like you forget that he got his start working in film production under Richard Donner. So just because he went that to go after his passion, which is writing comic books, doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, it's like
and then the crazy thing about that is there's a Donner connection for both him and Feige, because Feige got his start as a production assistant for Laura Schuler Donner. So it's like both of them were sitting like meters away from like some of the greatest minds in Hollywood, and it's just like, how can you say that neither one of them understands Hollywood? Obviously Feige does, but it's like, how can anybody say that Johns doesn't understand Hollywood when he was sitting in the basically under the same learning tree, so to speak? So I mean, it's their dedication to the characters is why they do so well. That's their secret. I mean, plain as simple. I don't know why people don't understand that.
But
John T. Parrish on actually, this is actually kind of some cool stuff. But John T. Parrish, whose name is the Geek, on he's actually watching on Periscope. We got Periscope viewer right now, and he's actually talking about Jeff Johns has Flashpoint coming out now. Now Flashpoint still doesn't have a director, right?
Nope.
So we don't really know what the hell's going on with Flashpoint. We might not even get it. I mean, let's be real. We might not even get it the way everything has been going. And yes, Grandpa Batman in the movies is, man, if only Megashawn was here, I swear he could go on for days talking about that. I swear to God, he could. Yeah, he really, really could. Tony Mentor, what's up, brother? How you doing? Actually, I'm going to invite Q in, and he says he's ready to go, so he's actually going to join the show in a second as well. But let's jump into the main topic. Pacific Rim 2, or excuse me, Pacific Rim Uprising is due out this week, this Friday. We don't know exactly how well it's going to do, but it's centered around giant robots or giant mecha and fighting kaiju. And the first Pacific Rim, stylistically, I thought was really, really cool. I liked it a lot, but it didn't quite resonate with a lot of audiences. But I guess, honestly, when it was over, I didn't think it was going to get a second movie. But it's obviously got another one. Guillermo del Toro, now the Oscar-winning director that he is, for Shape of Water, is bringing us another adventure, this time starring John Boyega. So I got a couple questions I wanted to ask everybody. And Q, hopefully you get settled and we can kind of jump in. What made Pacific Rim, if you saw for the first Pacific Rim, what made Pacific Rim kind of like an underrated movie to you? And why are you looking forward to Pacific Rim Uprising? Fallen Marvel, let's start with you.
Yeah, my phone. All right. Honestly, when it first came out, I mean, the overall look of it seemed pretty cool, and it wasn't like something we were kind of used to as far as like the mainstream box office. But I think at the same time, I guess I'm just kind of like one of those people that it didn't necessarily grab to where like I had to go to the theater to see it. Wasn't like something we were kind of used to as far as like the mainstream. It was just, but I think at this, just overall, like it wasn't something that grabbed me to go to the theaters to see it, and I wound up seeing it later on when it came out on DVD and Blu-ray, and then when I finally got a chance to sit down and see it, and I really liked it more than I thought I would like it. Like honestly, it just really seemed like another one of those, random sci-fi-ish movies that have come out, like, like say for instance, like what was it, Dragon Wars, or your was it Desperate Hours, or The Way, it was some stuff like that, like just the random sci-fi stuff that we kind of get on the whim. It's like, yeah, like it may have some decent special effects, but overall the movie would be trash. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the vibe that I got with the first movie. But like after the dust was settled and I got a chance to rent it and sit down and watch it, it was actually pretty good and left a really good impression on me. And I think like as far as movies like that was like something I think that we needed, but honestly, it really didn't get the push I feel it could have gotten because it was something new and fresh. But then again, it probably came in through the, under the shadow of Transformers as well. So that probably counted against it too. But overall, as the movie itself, it was good. And I look forward to the second one because obviously, you got the director coming back who's got, a good spot now. And you got John Boyega, who's, quickly becoming a rising star, to headline the movie and stuff like that. So it's a really larger than life type movie. Something I think that went underappreciated the first time. And I think people got the wind of it now. And then plus when you got John Boyega to lead it, that's going to bring some folks in, off of, Star Wars fame. So I honestly really feel like this movie probably won't like be the success that Black Panther was, but I think it's going to do fairly well. I think it has enough going for it to do fairly well.
GQ?
Honestly, here's how I look at it. Pacific Rim, the first one was good. It had its moments. It had its definitely had its downfalls, but I mean, there was some good, good things that happened in the movie. The problem I have with it is the fact that they did so much. I mean, it's like, okay, if your whole movie is obviously going to be big CG robots and that sort of thing, to me, the CG budget and like the entire budget, at least a good 60% of the budget should be on hiring the best CG teams in the world to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that a film hasn't done that when they hide most of the CG effects under rain effects. Because if you notice, the majority of that movie
was dark. Yeah, dude.
Dark, he was getting rained on.
It was.
So I'm like, okay, I get it. It's an old movie trick. I get it. It's fine. But it's also annoying because it's like some of the fights as you're watching them, you're just like, dude, I mean, it'd be nice if I could see some what's actually going on. Or if they had a couple of fights where they pulled all the way back, gave you a nice wide shot of here's what's going on. Here's what's, what's happening. Not all this, because again, it's the standard thing. When as soon as you get two actors that can't actually fight, trying to do a fight scene, what do? You get up close and you go shaky cam. And that's kind of how I was feeling with this. It's like, dude, these are mechs and you control everything they do. Even Transformers had moments where they pulled back and you could see, get an idea of everything that was going on. So I think that was one of the problems I had with Pacific Rim. I did like the story. I like the the story they were telling was cool, but I don't know. It's Ron Perlman was like my favorite dude in that, and I hope he comes back for the second one.
Oh, Ron Perlman was the dog, dude. He was awesome. He was absolutely awesome. Exactly. I love that guy.
Exactly. So if we get some more of what was this Hannibal something?
I forget his
name.
He had a dope name. Yeah. His outfits were cool as hell too. Yeah. I ain't gonna front. Even when he lost the shoes, and I ain't gonna front. Him losing them shoes in that kaiju, I understand why he wanted to get back. Like, where my damn shoes? I want my shoes back. Right. Them shoes were dope. I ain't gonna front. Yeah. John T. Parrish, he says, the geek says, the geek on Periscope is saying that Pacific Rim was fun to watch. It's not Star Wars quality, but it was good, and I have to agree with that assessment. It was interesting enough. I thought Idris Elba did a very good job as the lead character. Charlie Hunnam wasn't terrible, but I don't know. Q, what did you think of Pacific Rim, and why are you looking forward to Pacific Rim 2? And then we can start to get into some of the other things about mecha in movies in America.
Yeah, the first Pacific Rim, I think, caught me off guard because, I seen it. And, I was a big fan of Del Toro from the Hellboy series. Right. And, the Pan's Labyrinth. So I knew he was a solid director. And, what I'm saying, with big monsters and big robots, I thought he'd do pretty good. And I was pleasantly surprised when I went to the theater. I seen it in D-Box, too. So, it was awesome. With the robots moving around. It felt like a old school Saturday morning cartoon, but I was an adult, you know what I'm saying? And it was these awesome fights and the weight of the robots you felt to when they're picking up bolts and it was shaking. That's what I really, liked about the new Pacific Rim. You know what I'm saying? It was just a awesome surprise. The effects were just, spectacular. Even for the time I watched it the other day on Blu-ray, and I think it still holds up. It's still pretty good, even though the movie's almost 5 years old now. So I think it stands up pretty good. Now with this new Pacific Rim, I think the marketing hasn't been that strong here in America, and the previews weren't that strong. It looks, I hate to say it, nothing against Power Rangers, but it looks a little PG, almost G to PG. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't see it, and it seems like these creatures, they seem a little lighter, and the robots seem lighter, like they're more quick. I don't know, how that's going to play out, but I love John Boyega. You know what I'm saying? He was awesome in Detroit, and Last Jedi, I love him. I just wonder, can Clint Eastwood, have his back in this movie? So I'm sort of excited about Pacific Rim 2. I'm surprised it got a sequel because it just kind of broke even in the box office. But I'm gonna see it this weekend. I can't wait because giant monsters and robots. You got to take my money.
No, I feel you, dude. I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely, because I mean, honestly, Del Toro championed this film. Like, he never gave up on it. Obviously, he's emotionally invested into this thing. He wants to see it off the ground, and so that begs the question: Pacific Rim obviously failed to really meet expectations or kind of really generate a lot of buzz. And that just got me thinking, why is that? Because when we were growing up, like G actually, like Q actually said, when we were watching Saturday morning cartoons, kind of like big robots, of course, coming from Japan and stuff like that, they weren't lumbering or anything like that. They were fast moving. They had lots of action. And when you think about it, when they first started to try and do mecha in the movies back in the 80s, remember? And Kyle, you might be a little too young for this one, but Q and GQ remember this. Robot Jocks. Remember Robot Jocks when it came out back in the day? And we kind of thought that was going to be like really, really cool robot thing, and maybe almost like a Voltron type deal, and it totally wasn't. Real Steel was not that either. There have been rumors about them trying to do a live action Voltron movie for forever. Hasn't happened. Probably, I don't know if it ever would happen. There's been Robotech has been in development hell for almost 15 to 20 years. They've been talking about trying to do a Robotech movie. First, it was with remember Tobey Maguire, I think was attached to it at one point. That ship has sailed. But anyway, what do we think about mecha in America, and why hasn't it caught on yet? What do you think is holding it back?
Transformers.
Honestly. Honestly, that's not a bad knock. Yeah.
I honestly really feel that Transformers as a whole has essentially set it back now. Transformers essentially made the money for two reasons. One, because it's Transformers. Like, that has a very long history and rapport with a lot of folks. And two, I don't really disrespect a lot of folks' taste, but I can only say that a lot of folks that do see it, like a lot of them just like, hey, giant robots, explosions, so I'm good.
Crash.
It is, but it is what it is. But each one has made money, and like the latest one is like the only one that met low, that didn't hit that mark. But again, we've had 5 Transformers movies since 2008, since about 2007, 2000, whatever. And when Pacific Rim came out, this came out in 2011. They came out 2013, and by then we had 3 Transformers movies out. By then you're kind of looking like, it's just like a Transformers ripoff, So honestly, I really feel like that's kind of one of the things that kind of hindered it. And again, as far as like other promotions, honestly, I hardly remember seeing any real marketing for it. Which is why I didn't go to the theaters to see it, because I didn't really see the point. So, but overall, as far as mech in general, honestly, once they kind of brought Transformers out, it had potential to do something great for the genre, but because it wound up being a one-trick pony 5 times, no one wanted to see anything else like that, really. Unless it was Transformers, mainly because of the name.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think people didn't gravitate towards it because people like, the name brand. They know Transformers. So bringing out a new property like Pacific Rim, I didn't think it did quite as good because a lot of people not, except if you're in the culture like us, up on the geek culture, and know about how awesome this, this thing could be. They know Transformers. That's why those garbage movies made, $1 billion every time they came out, because they know them and they think they're going to be good. And the actual decent one came out, and America didn't support it. The only reason Pacific Rim 2 is playing now because overseas.
What decent one? What decent?
Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim.
Okay. All right. I'm glad you clarified that. I'm so glad you clarified that, because I was about to clown you, dude. What?
Part one, like the first one is okay. You know what I'm saying? It got some decent action scenes in it. I think it was, not the greatest from, like the 86 movie, but I think they could have worked from that and made something better, but they progressively got worse and worse and worse. It's not even talking about Extinction or the last one, the last night or whatever the hell it was called that I couldn't even get through. I had to turn it off. I was like, this is fucking garbage, son. So yeah. Yeah.
GQ, why did we like Mecha when we were growing up, man? What was it? What was the appeal?
Because it was different. It was something new. I mean, obviously, when we came up, we're a little bit older than the rest of the cast here, but I mean,
he's about his same age as we are.
I think I'm older than you guys.
Yeah, Q rolls with us.
No, 41. Sorry,
41.
So all right. So you might be older than me, depending on what month you were born. But so we all came up around the same time in that regard. Then, so we had Looney Tunes. You had you basically had like
Woody Woodpecker and stuff like that.
Woody Woodpecker, Mighty Mouse, and stuff like that.
Super Friends.
Yeah,
Ultraman.
exactly. Yeah, well, see, Ultraman was actually catching that on TV came a little bit later, but as far as like you had your Voltron every now and again, but it was just different. It was new. It was like, what is this? Robotech, Macross, all that. Catching those every now and again because obviously there was no no Boomerang or Hulu or anything like that back then. To catch stuff on a regular basis. So you would get it as as it would come around. And I think that's why Mecha was something that caught on. But why Pacific Rim maybe didn't catch on, or why Mecha in the States isn't as strong, especially nowadays. I think it is partially because of Transformers, but not in the sense of people are tired of robots, because people don't have a problem with robots. What it is in the movie industry, you have actors and you have agents, and actors want their screen time. And if the robots are the star of the show, how are actors going to get their screen time? So I think that's kind of what you're running into, is the industry itself is kind of against the whole setup of the whole way Mecha works. It works in Japan because, again, in Japan, it's about the art and putting the movie out and telling the story. That's their main, focus. Obviously, they want to make money, but their main focus is, they put the art, they put the movie out, they want to do what they're doing just for the love of the project, so to speak. Over here, we already know how it works. It's like, hey, if I don't have like such amount of screen time and my check ain't this big, and if the story isn't really centered around my character, it's like it's not even about like the movie anymore. It's like, how much screen time can I get? That's why, like, for example, like The Rock in Rampage, it seems to be more or less about the characters and the the monsters and whatnot. It's The Rock's movie, obviously, but I think he's one of the actors that gets it. It's like, dude, I'm getting paid for being here one way or the other.
Right.
My fans are gonna come see it because they're fans of me. Let's tell a story. I mean, I think that's why even in G.I. Joe, the second G.I. Joe movie, it's like, yeah, he was in it. And yeah, they kind of, the story ended up being around Roadblock and the people who were out, with him. But it was still, I wouldn't say good because it wasn't really good, but I mean, it was still, a decent G.I. Joe film because he allowed himself to just be the character, and the story, worked this way out. So I think that's kind of the issue you run into with Mecha. It's like, for example, first of all, you got to get over the hump of, okay, which one do you do? Do you grab Voltron? Do you grab Robotech? Do you grab Gundam? You know what I'm saying? So once you do that, okay, great. Now we got a name. Who's going to be in it? And there's the problem. You always run into that issue because it's like, if you get a Hugo Weaving, you already know how the dude stepped away from Marvel. That should tell you in and of itself that the dude
was crazy, man.
Right. So it's like, it's like if you could grab like a Hugo Weaving, he gets attached to it, or like if the Rock gets attached to it, it'd probably be okay. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's if you get certain actors in there in the mix to get that star power, now it's going to be about more of the pilots and not the freaking mechs that everybody tunes in to watch, when they watch it. So I think that's one of the issues you run into.
And I'm actually glad you kind of brought up Gundam, because actually, in anime in general, because obviously that's where, even when Transformers was animated over there, Mighty Orbots, which I loved as a kid, was animated over there. Of course, if you want to go way back when kind of Super Robots came over there, Mazinga Z or Tranzor Z came from over there. I forget the name of, but there was a couple of other Super Robot shows that came over from Japan. and they came out in the 70s, and they were really, really super popular. Because Gundam is actually like Star Trek over there. Basically, it's like, it's basically like Star Trek over there. It's a wide spanning, storyline, spans like decades. It's about the robots, but it's kind of more about the humans and the characters. I think Gundam would be perfect to actually be done as a Hollywood live action movie, especially if it's the original. If it's the original Gundam, and it's about Amuro Ray and Char Aznable, and Amuro's like this this asshole-ish 14-year-old kid whose father creates this secret weapon that's supposed to turn the tide of this incredible war that's going on and stuff like that. He's thrust into the spotlight of basically being forced to enlist and pilot it because only he can. Like literally he's the only one with the ability, so he has to fight and fight and fight, and he doesn't want to do it. I mean, it's a great story, and I think it would work very well over here. I don't know what's the hesitancy of the embracement, and I think part of that, like you said, and I think actually some people were saying in the chat that Mecha is just so much cooler, but I think the way it's done over here has a lot to do with it. It's the robots don't move fast. They're not. This is supposed to be science fiction, and I think they need to divorce themselves from science fact. They're too concerned with the realistic movements of the mecha. Like they're saying, okay, it's got to have weight, so it's got to lumber, and it's going to be weighed down by gravity. Gundam ain't worried about that. They're worried about fast action, whole bunch of explosions. It's half the time it's in space, half the time it's on a planetary body. It works, but
Transformers. But the Transformers, as much as you guys like bemoan it, Transformers actually got that right. Like the robots were fast and moving. The only one that was slow was Devastator, but the reason he was
terrible.
No, but it made. But see, the thing is, that's where the mixture, and I think that's where Bay got it right. It was like if you put that many heavy vehicles together, you can't divorce the amount of mass that they are taking up. They are taking up that much. They're going to weigh that much.
Yeah, that's true.
And like I said, that made sense. But like Prime, Bumblebee, all of them move very, very quickly. Given the fact of what they actually are. I mean, especially Prime. I mean, he's an 18-wheeler. Obviously he didn't have the trailer when they first started with it, but an 18-wheeler by itself weighs about 9 or 10 tons by itself. That's before you even load it. So it's like it makes sense that the bigger they get, yes, they got to move a little bit slower. I understand where you're coming from. At the same time, though, you got to also remember the suspension of disbelief. It's like, look, we're not here to see something slow. And I think that's where what was that Tom Cruise movie, Edge of Tomorrow? When they had those suits, I thought that's where they were getting their chance to get closer to like a Gundam style thing. But again, they missed that window. They didn't pay attention or whatever.
Right.
So nope, they didn't.
Yeah. And to mention like to continue like talking about as far as mobility of the bots. The thing is that like again, like Devastator, I kind of get that because he was a combination of different vehicles moving around like a big sloth. So, and the other Autobots and the other Decepticons did move around. Now, the one Autobot that I was very impressed with, and unfortunately we didn't get a lot of time to spend with them, was the design for Sideswipe. I think that was probably like the best design that they used in the movies.
Yeah, he was sweet.
And but of course, the biggest disappointment for me, like amongst others, probably was RC. I didn't like how they designed RC in the second one at all.
Yeah, and plus they wasted her. I mean, it was just like
she was completely wasted.
Yeah,
dude, they wasted a lot of them, man.
Because here's the thing, though. Because here's my for Transformers, there were only really a couple of robots that actually mattered to me. It was Megatron, Optimus, Soundwave, Shockwave.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so mad about Shockwave. Oh man, I was so mad.
I like Shockwave. I don't care. Sorry, so for me, Dark of the Moon was the best one. So I have.
It was without question.
I have no problems with that film. And Shockwave, to me, I like the whole idea of him having that, that giant creature that he wrote. Because again, the creature, if you look back in the episodes, they kind of stole the design from one of the older episodes. So it's, people give Bay all sorts of crap for explosion porn and all this and that, but the man does his homework. So I will give him props for that. And I liked how Shockwave was designed in that film. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, design and effects is probably the best thing about the movie. Just everything else is lackluster.
Soundwave. Soundwave.
No, Soundwave was mishandled, but Shockwave was perfect to me. But
I forgot, like, what happened to Soundwave? Because
Soundwave was a satellite.
No. He went through a couple of iterations. He went through a couple of things because they technically had him be a tape deck or a CD player in the first film.
I remember that.
Was it the first film or was it the second?
No,
it might have been this. No.
No, the first time we saw him was he was a satellite in the second one. That was the first time we saw him.
No. Because that's how they snuck on Air Force One. Unless maybe Frenzy was
Frenzy. That was Frenzy.
Okay, you're right. All right, so yeah, he started off as a satellite, then they turned him into a car in the third one. So yeah, Soundwave he didn't really get his due. But I think but again, it goes back to the reason the Transformers movies aren't good is because of the fact that there's the human element. And Megashawn says it all the time.
There it is again, the human element.
The human element is what slows those stories down. The problem is Hollywood, and to an extent, they're actually right about this. They don't think the audience is ready to handle a film that's all, because remember, Transformers, if you take people out of it, it's all CG. All CG. It's live action CG. And you have to think about that. That's a very crazy thing for people to actually sit down and watch for 2 hours or whatever it's going to be.
You know what? You do have a point. You do have. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. What do you think about something like Planet of the Apes? I know it has humans in there too, but the main protagonist is, all CG characters. And that I thought worked really, really well. But like at the same time, it does have a fair amount of humans.
But the reason that works is because Planet of the Apes has always been about, the apes taking over and wiping out humanity. That's kind of, even from the ones way back before all of us were born, with Charlton Heston. That was kind of the whole gist of it. It was like humanity is gone, or as far as you can see, the twist, of course, was you actually are on Earth in the first movie. Spoiler alert from 40 years ago, but it's just the fact that you have to have humans in that because they represent you're a dying breed, and boom, here we go. And I think that's kind of why it works. Okay, now I saw a comment that just popped up. It says we have Pixar, why not PG-13 CG? I'm not saying in the sense of you can't do a CG movie, because obviously you can. They've done it. I mean, even Titan AE was animated, if I remember right. But I think like Transformers, I think the reason it works is because of the practical stuff that Bay does. So having, like I said, if you completely just went CG with Transformers and no real backgrounds or anything, you just did a CGI movie, you probably could bake off with like gangbusters and it would be great. But the last time we had a full CG movie that hit theaters like that was in that sense trying to basically, portray humans and whatnot, was Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, and we all know how that worked.
There's one more, Beowulf.
But again, there you go, Beowulf. How did that one turn out?
Not very good. And it's funny because I remember I used to work at Hollywood Video back around the time when it came out. And I remember a person returning that movie because it was animated.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like one they call Beowulf.
Right. It's one of those situations where the audience, yes, we are prepared for it because we grew up with it. We don't care. We like it as long as it's entertaining. Mm-hmm. The average moviegoer doesn't think that way. As soon as they see animation and animation like that, they put it in the cartoon category. And they expect it to behave like a cartoon. So they expect the violence to be kind of toned down. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what Avatar ran into. If you think about Avatar, yes, the trailer shows you that this is going to be something amazing. But the trailer is also focused on the fact that, you're seeing blue people run around and maybe a little bit of human element. but it looked like it was an animated, a very high polished animated feature.
Yeah, but that goes back to your point, though. I think animated Avatar is still the #1 movie of all time, though. But it still had the human element in it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it was from those humans that what it did as well. Now, Pixar movie like Coco would do blockbusters because they know it's for children. They can take all their children. But as soon as she crossed that line to PG-13 to R, it gets into a different realm, and it doesn't do so hot when it's brought out into theaters.
Yeah, because I remember sitting in a screening of Avatar, way back, when it first came out, and I'm just hearing the rumblings of parents. Why are they cussing so much? Why did this and that? I'm like,
bruh, what about when Spike was like, holy shit, what are we gonna do now?
That was different.
I could just imagine because that was
open, damn it.
That was a PG movie, though.
Right. But Avatar is one of those situations where it's like the average parent is not going to go beyond, oh, this is animated, I'm cool, we can go see this. So that's why you're not able to get like a good mech movie or anything in that vein done without the human element, because the human element explains why, okay, there's adult themes or this or that. Because it takes it outside of the realm of, and any animation is a cartoon, because that's still, unfortunately, how a lot of parents think. Because again, some of us,
what about Sausage Party?
Sausage Party.
What about Sausage Party?
Kids in the theater, and it's just like
I can only imagine how many parents like mistakenly brought their children to that.
See.
And that just shows that folks do not pay attention to the rating.
No, they don't.
System.
Deadpool.
And it was too much for me. And I seen kids going out crying, and they didn't know what they seen at the end of that movie. They say, wait to the madness.
But again, that's how the American audience is, and unfortunately, like I said, in Japan, the reason Mecha works is because they lump it all together as entertainment, and they're cool with it. And they just, here it is.
They do. I mean, shoot. They animations like in Japan, like they air that stuff like sitcoms over here. So it's like, dude, because I think like Dragon Ball Super, like that's like they show that at prime time in Japan, don't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely they do.
There you go.
They do. Oh man, honestly, I just think I think it's just going to take that one. Now, the jury time will tell this weekend how well Pacific Rim is received. I don't anticipate it being received very well, just based off of the marketing, based off of I was excited. I'm sure a bunch of other, members of the culture are excited as well. They're going to go see it, but is it going to, dethrone Black Panther? I don't know, man. I don't have the confidence in it. I don't know, man. Black Panther is like really super strong right now. So I honestly hope that Mecha in America will not be dead after this weekend is over. Because, honestly, I think done right, with Hollywood's touch, not being white. And, that's the other thing about Gundam. You can't whitewash it. Because a lot of the characters, some of the characters are white. No, a lot of the characters are white.
They already are, but that's the thing. They'll accuse it of being whitewashed because.
Oh yeah, they will. Absolutely, it'll be another Ghost in the Shell situation.
Right. This is a Japanese property. There should be some.
Yeah, they should all be Asians, which is crap. Sharon's novel is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Caucasian dude. Yeah. Amuro Ray is a ginger. He's not Japanese. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. I think Gundam will be great over here, and I'm gonna keep saying that. So. Let's move on actually to the verses. It's time to do some verses, guys. And I've tapped GQ and I've tapped Fallen Marvel to kind of go at it on these topics that I kind of was ruminating in my head a little bit today. So let's get to it, shall we? All right. So GQ and Fallen Marvel, I got 3 questions to ask you all. You're all going to have 90 seconds. 90 seconds. You're going to have 90 seconds to pardon me, hold on. You're going to have
fire it up.
Yeah. He's like he's ready, man. He's all the way ready.
You gotta pull the
He's
gauntlet
got
out on me.
All right, so you've got 90 seconds to debate. I'm gonna give you 90 seconds each to debate these topics. The first topic on the screen right now: Better's 80s TV theme song, The Greatest American Hero, or The Dukes of Hazzard. And just for some of you that may not know how do you not know this song? Like literally, you really should know it. But it's oh, actually, hold on a second. But one of the greatest theme songs of all time is The Greatest American Hero. But Dukes of Hazzard also has a very fondly remembered song. So.
Iconic.
Very iconic. Very iconic. You're absolutely right about that. So what would you say is the greatest song between the two? I'm going to start with GQ. Go.
All right. Well, the greatest one honestly has its name already in it. Greatest American Hero.
He's surprising me.
Yeah,
With this one.
it's no. But here's the reason why. Dukes of Hazzard was a good song, but the reason Dukes of Hazzard doesn't stay on my list is because it technically is a country song. So that's already strike one. I will give it props.
Damn good point.
Yeah, I will give it props for having like it tells the entire like story of the characters in it a little bit here and there, but it's like it's a country song at the end of the day. Greatest American Hero. Like believe it or not, I'm walking on air. It's like the whole thing like hypes you up for like, oh dude, like I can be this hero too. That's what kind of hypes it up, because if you get down to it, it's like the last little bars are like, believe it or not, it's just me. It really makes you want to feel like, okay, this guy, this is like an everyday man that's a hero. And it's like that could be that person. I could be that, that character. So the song itself kind of gets you already in that anticipation of like, okay, cool, I'm a hero too. So you're watching the show. Dukes of Hazzard is like, you sitting back, like if you older, you drinking some moonshine or like you playing cards, with the fellas or something. But for a kid watching it, you're just like, man, just with the car, just jump off of a ramp. That's all I really cared about when I used to watch Dukes of Hazzard and Daisy
Absolutely.
Dukes. But other than that, dude, it's like, I'm sorry, Greatest American Hero to me is the greatest theme out of those two.
All right, time's up. Perfect timing. He got 5 points on that one. He surprised me. He surprised me with that one. I ain't gonna front. I didn't think he was gonna pick that. 1 minute 30 seconds to follow Marvel. Go to it, man.
Well, from what I remember listening out of both, I do have to say that The Greatest American Hero is the better theme out of the two. Dukes of Hazzard, while iconic and yes, it's very fondly remembered, the song itself is still like very typically country, and it to me it's just it doesn't have any real impact as far as like sucking you in with. It's like, hey, it's this show, these two dudes riding a car jumping off ramps. Now with The Greatest American Hero, that theme song does have a way of like, okay, it has like this very soft melody and thing. And it's kind of ironic because it just reminds me, like, listening to it, it sounds like the original version of the theme from Quantum Leap, just with lyrics in a way. So it has that same vibe. Like, I don't know, it's like a combination of Quantum Leap and Family Ties with the way it sounds.
Damn.
But however, the way that it's the lyrics of it is like one of those things where it's like it is something that could be a little uplifting. You're just a regular guy doing hero stuff. I mean, it basically was doing everything being short of I'm a Real American by Hulk Hogan at that point.
Yo, that's a good point. Time's up. Way to go on that one. That's a real good point, dog. Oh man, that's good.
Believe
honestly.
it or not, I'm walking on air.
Oh man, my man got some pipes. All right.
No.
All right. So topic number 2, and I might have to help GQ out on this one because he might not. I'm sure he hasn't seen either one of these yet. But we all know that Jessica Jones season 2 just came out, and there was a very, very controversial scene, and the way some character acted in that season kind of got some people on the bad side. So, who's the worst friend? Who's the worst best friend? Trish Walker or Nancy Wheeler from Stranger Things? Now, for GQ's edification, I'm not going to start the clock yet. Nancy Wheeler in Stranger Things, since he hasn't seen it yet, took her best friend to a party that she wanted no business, she wanted no part of. Took her to a party just so she could be with this guy that she wanted to kick it with. As soon as she gets to the party, immediately leaves her best friend. Doesn't check in on her friend until like the next day. Come to find out that while she took her to the party, her friend got eaten and devoured by the Demogorgon. So her friend died, and she had absolutely no idea while she was busy banging her new boyfriend. So that's Nancy Wheeler. And Trish Walker kind of pulled out some heinous crap. But she kind of was doing it for the right reasons, but she pretty much just, spoiler alert, she killed Jessica Jones's mother, who just returned, and kind of fucked up their friendship. So, GQ, go. Who's the worst best friend?
Well, based on those two descriptions, I would have to say, I'd have to say Nancy Wheeler is the worst. Because, I mean, realistically, if you think about it, obviously you don't want nobody to kill your parents. However, that didn't kill you. Nancy, took her to the party and got her killed. And first of all, she used her to get to the party. Didn't really. It wasn't even wingman status or female status. It was just, you're my ticket into the party. I'm going to leave you to your own devices, and I don't care. Because I'm going to, she's going to meet up and hook up with this one guy. So I think that makes her a worse best friend, which is, I guess, is a weird way to say it, but
worst best friend. I know, right?
I think that was her worst best friend, because it's like, because you took, she was your ticket in, you didn't check on her, you basically used her to get what you wanted, which again, I have no real problem with, but the problem does arise when she gets killed in the whole thing. So I mean, it's like, you get killed going to a party, you just think you go and have a good time and you end up dead. To me, that's a worse best friend, that more so than Trish, because Trish, if it was, sound like there was a good reason. So I mean, if there was a good reason, at least there's a redeeming factor. This one is like all negatives all the way around the board. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave the rest of my time.
All right, he says Nancy Wheeler is the worst best friend. I'm gonna start with you, Fallen Marvel. 1 minute and 30 seconds for you. Hit it.
I'm gonna have to go with Dope Fiend Patsy Walker on this
one. Dope Fiend, damn.
Because I'm sorry, she lost a lot of cool points with me in this second season. Now I've done a little bit of research on Miss Nancy, and while it was messed up what she did, I can't really see that anything other than just angsty teen bullshit, which a lot of teens tend to do. It's not like she meant for this person to get killed or whatever the case may be, but I mean, let's face it, it's like the same PSA stuff that we always seen growing up. Like, the one friend does something selfish, drags their friend with it or whatever, and something else happens. So is she responsible? Yeah, but everything else, like I said, it's just typical teen angst bullshit. Patsy, she was this girl's sister. Okay, they've been tight for more than half their lives. Even during the whole thing when she was a pop star and all that stuff, she still was selfish and popping pills and going down on guys for drugs and all that.
Damn.
I mean, and then it's she went off to this crazy shit with putting herself in danger and damn near putting other people in danger because she wanted to get powers herself. Selfish as hell, And she went way too reckless. She went way far down the rabbit hole than she needed to, and she put herself and everyone around her in danger.
Time's up.
Whatever.
Time's up. Good one, man. You got 10. GQ currently has 9. So now this is gonna be a good one, and this is based off of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball history all around. I alluded to it earlier in the show, but And I'm gonna let Fallen Marvel go first, because I'm gonna give GQ a chance to kind of pull up the rear and maybe hit that game winning shot, the walk off. Better DB fight: Perfect Cell versus Super Saiyan Goku, or Ultra Instinct Goku versus Jiren? 1 minute and 30 seconds for Fallen Marvel. Which one takes the top spot? Can you hold on to the lead? Get going.
Okay. As much as a nostalgic person in me wants to say Cell and Goku, I'm gonna have to go with Jiren and Goku on this one. Reason being is because comparing both fights, the stakes are extremely high. And the fact that Goku has reached this state that even the gods couldn't reach, to face somebody that, you know, is essentially all powerful his damn self. He's been pushed like so far, and it's just like to another plateau that he has never reached before. And it's just, again, the stakes are very high. Like before, they had to worry about just the planet getting blown up. At this point, he's fighting for the entire universe, and then on top of it, it's the spectacle of it. Like they're basically just like they're essentially transcendent gods at this point, just fighting. And even when the point where it just gets desperate on Jiren's part, he goes as far as try to take out his own people. He tried to take out Goku's folks or whatever, and that just pissed Goku off. It's like, dude, you don't touch my folks like that. Like,
yeah, he kind of fucked up on that one. He did,
you know. So
yeah, he did.
it's just like a lot that's riding on this fight, and it's just so exciting. The animation is beautiful, and so far, it's the best fight that we've seen in Dragon Ball ever.
And all right, 13 points. 13 points. So GQ's got 5 points for the win, basically. Let's see if he can pull it off. Which one's the better Dragon Ball fight? Perfect Cell versus Super Saiyan Goku, or Ultra Instinct Goku versus Jiren? GQ for the win. Let's go.
All right, let me go ahead and wrap this up. Without even seeing the new fight, I already know the old fight is better, because based on everything you just said, the only reason this fight is quote unquote better is because it's newer. That's not really a good enough reason. Anytime you have to up the stakes to the entire universe can go, it's like, dude, yes, that's the only way you can get better, because you have to make it bigger stakes. If you look back at the original Goku versus Cell thing, it was like, yeah, the planet is going to get destroyed. That's all you need to care about, because you're on this planet, and if it goes, that's you, and everybody that you know is gone. So, you know, the whole, you know, moving it up or the better animation, yeah, of course it's going to have a better animation. It was done like last week, you know, or like, you know, it was done this year versus almost 20, you know, plus years ago. So, and to me, the Goku versus Cell battle, the reason that was cool is because Goku actually loses that, and his son has to come in and do something. It wasn't so much that it's the standard Goku is like, you know, the guy that we can always lay our hopes on because he always wins. That's boring. At least you get to a fight where Goku didn't even freaking win the fight. It was his son that had to come up and take up the slack, because Goku had some imperfections. Now that you're taking him to God level in Ultra Instinct and all this other stuff, he's becoming a Mary Sue. And it's a sad thing to say about Goku, but he's becoming a Mary Sue. It's like, oh, he needs a new power to finish this person off. Give it to him. So, and I think that's kind of the issue.
All right. Actually, we are kind of deadlocked, and I almost have to break this tie. I kind of have to do it, people. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna let the Junkie Nation kind of do it, and I'm gonna chime in. I'll give my points, but I'll see all the votes on the chat. So everybody, they're tied up. So you make the decision. Who won that argument? That very last one, walked it off. Who won that one? I'm gonna weigh in and give my 2 cents. I'm gonna say it's the Perfect Cell versus Super Saiyan Goku fight, and the reason I'm gonna say that is because when you look at the basically the techniques they were pulling off in that fight, right? You had they were, remember, Cell had rules, like you had to fight within this ring. So like they were fighting all over this ring, like, you know, disappearing after images. They were doing you know, high speed punches and stuff like that, back and forth, up in the air, down in the air, you know, firing kamehamehas at each other. Cell was showing off all the tricks, like from him pulling all the techniques from the different Z fighters that he had, that he was basically cobbled together with. You know, you had that. Then, you know, to cap it all off, you had Goku basically flying up in the air, loading this super huge Kamehameha, thinking that he was going to just destroy the damn planet himself. Instant transmission in front of Cell blows him away. And then, you know, Cell regenerates, of course, after that. But that's just me. I thought the fight in the animation, the way it was animated as far as like choreography, I thought, you know, Cell versus Goku was far superior. We only have one vote in the chat, and that one vote is actually for GQ right now. Let's see. Johnny Patton. Cell was a classic match. Jiren might still get another 5 upgrades. So I don't know, man. I honestly, as cool as the Ultra Instinct Goku was, and seeing him kind of get pissed off about what he got pissed off about, I'm gonna have to go ahead and give this one a GQ. 14 to 13. GQ wins. I know he'll gloat all about that, you know, at some point. And he'll say, "Oh, I'm the best, and I'm the greatest," and hold up the gauntlet and turn it on and have all them sounds and all that bullshit.
You don't need to. Hey, there's a whole thing about being the best. You don't have to gloat. It's already a known quantity.
It's already a known quantity, right? Absolutely. So, honestly, guys, that's going to be the show. That was actually perfect timing. That was a lot of fun. Actually, today was a whole lot of fun. Everything that we talked about, the versus battle this week was actually pretty good. Next week, I would love to do another one, maybe if time is permitting. But if not, the week after that, our friend, our new follower over there on Periscope said it was the gauntlet that basically swayed his choice to GQ. That's, you know, GQ pulling out them props, man. You might have to pull some of yourself, Fallen Marvel.
Gotta step your prop game up.
Yeah,
there.
you must step that prop game up there, brother. So anyway, the game over there, the geek over there on Periscope. We want to thank you for joining us. If you followed us, you know, first time watching the show, we want to thank you. Please come back and actually, you know, tell your friends about us. We'll be here next week, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time, with another installment. Next week is obviously the release of Ready Player One, and we're gonna talk a little bit about breaking down the book. Maybe I'll get my hands on it sometime this week, and maybe my ADD adult brain will allow me to actually finish it before we do next week's show, so we can kind of break that down and talk about all the good stuff in there. Q, what did you think of the versus battle this week, dude?
I thought it was a real good. I thought it came down really, really close. I haven't seen that last Jiren battle, but shoot, that Goku versus Cell is one of the, you know what I'm saying, Dragon Ball Z at its, you know what I'm saying, pinnacle. It's the thriller.
It's pinnacle. Yeah, it was great.
Fucking, Dragon Ball Z. So I was already leaning towards that side. No offense. But yeah, I thought both debates were great. I thought they did a great job. It was like watching heavyweight fights every week. Y'all got to keep this up. I love it.
Absolutely. So which one would be better to you then? Greatest American Hero or Dukes of Hazzard, bro?
Oh, Greatest American Hero for me, for sure. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to put that K-Ball. So that song, which is, I still got that, you know, I'm on top of the world.
How do we feel about this remake that they getting ready to do, man? My heart is hurting. My heart is hurting. Yeah,
it's gonna hurt a lot of folks, and more than likely you'll probably get like an updated like rock version and original theme.
No.
I'm sorry for the original fans, so you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, Greatest American Show was all right. I think the theme was better than the show most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. I love that show. Love that show. Very fond memories as a kid watching that show every Wednesday night on ABC. Get the hell out of here. I don't want to hear none of that nonsense. Anyway, so
like that. But I mean, that was the time. It was '84. You know,
it was great. It was funny. It was cheesy. You know, Connie Selica was sexy as hell. I'm not gonna lie. I think she was primary reason I kind of wanted to watch that show even when I was a kid. But anyway, hey, you know, what can I say? Anyway, guys, we had a great time entertaining you for an hour. Have a very safe and blessed week. We'll be back next week, 8 p.m. excuse me, 9 p.m. Central East and 8 p.m. Central Time. For GQ, for Q, and for Fallen Marvel, I'm Kishiro. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all. All right.